And a welcome to the Wizarding Wireless Network podcast with me, AJ.
And me, Will.
Together, we will be bringing you our no-holds-barred thoughts, opinions, and detailed analysis on all things Wizarding World. So, with that in mind, I beg of you, grab yourself a glass of fire whiskey and settle into this week's episode of the WWN.
Welcome to the Wizarding Wireless Network with your hosts AJ and Will, streaming to you on all of your favourite podcast providers and on YouTube. On today's Folio Universitas episode, we will be talking about none other than Nicholas Flamel.
Yes, the decrepit skeleton, as you so kindly called him before we started recording.
Well,
that man is old.
He is ancient at this point.
Yes, he is. He is exceptionally ancient. Now, what do we know of the man?
So, it depends, really, because actually it depends on whether we're going to be talking about Nicholas Flamel from Harry Potter or the real-life Nicholas Flamel, because for those who don't actually know, the character itself is actually based on a real-life alchemist.
Yeah.
So our Harry Potter Nicholas Flamel was born between the 1300s and 1326.
That's a long time ago.
It is, yes. And as we know then from Fantastic Beasts and from Philosopher's Stone, Nicholas Flamel then died around anywhere between 1992 and 1996, which then puts him at about 666 to 696, really. That's a lot.
His pension must be enormous.
Either that or he's getting like a 1p a day.
Probably. How many letters from the king did he need to get?
He's on a retainer.
I know.
So in terms of like nationality then, Nicholas Flamel is then French residencies, which we then know from the Fantastic Beasts series when they are over in Paris. But the one person that we then don't get to see, but we do know about from the books, is Pernella.
I thought it was Perinel.
Perinel? Perinel.
Is it Perinel?
I think it is. I think it looks like that is the spelling.
Lovely.
Yeah, we'll go with yours. You're usually correcting me on pronunciation anyway.
Oui.
So yeah, we get to know about his wife. There's not really that much known about the pair of them, really.
No, not really. Did they have any children?
It doesn't say about them having any children, which is quite surprising, really.
I mean, consider it, but saying that, I don't imagine they would have had children later on into their life. Because, I mean, that man, as we've seen in Fantastic Beasts, he struggled to shake a hand, let alone anything else. Do you know what I mean? But it does make me wonder if they did have kids early on in their life.
Well, I'm just trying to have a little look, actually, about then the real-life Nicholas Flamel, because actually, funnily enough, the spouse of the real Nicholas Flamel was still Perinel Flamel.
Yeah.
So there's nothing to say that they did. Perinel had 2 previous husbands before Nicholas.
Oh!
I know, she was a widow hunter.
A widow hunter, come through with that life insurance money.
Exactly. Well, to be fair, actually, you joke about that. That is how Nicholas and Perinel actually started up a lot of their company.
You're joking.
The money, she had brought the wealth from her 2 previous husbands into the marriage.
We love to see it.
So you joke about that, but actually that is genuinely what she did.
Good for her.
Exactly. Make the best of a bad situation. So what was Nicholas Flamel famous for then, AJ?
He was famous for having long flowing white hair, a lovely little funeral smock that he likes to wear. But of course he is famous for the one and only that we're aware of. Philosopher's Stone. Creation of said stone.
Yes. So the Philosopher's Stone, the main item, I'm just trying to think of what the word is when it's in films they have a word for like the item that makes the film a thing.
What, like an object?
Yeah, like in Indiana Jones and the
Artifact.
Last Crusade. Like it's an artifact that propels the whole film is them going on to find this item. A MacGuffin.
A what?
A MacGuffin. So
I have never heard of that in my entire life.
this is the thing, I've heard it a few times and it's such a good word to use and I can never remember what it is. So a MacGuffin essentially is a prop or item within a film that propels a story forward. So the whole thing is around the story. So like Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, the whole story is about them finding the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
The Holy Grail is the MacGuffin.
Right, okay.
Yeah?
Okay. I am with you.
So essentially, like, the Philosopher's Stone is a bit of a MacGuffin because the whole story is about them getting and finding the Philosopher's Stone.
Well, that is a word that I did not know that I needed to have in my vocabulary.
There you go. The more you know.
The more you know.
So, yeah. The famous MacGuffin, which is the Philosopher's Stone of the first film. The inventor of it and famous and renowned alchemist as well.
Makes me wonder though, like, what else was Nicholas Flamel making? You know, these little potions and alchemy and stuff.
Well, exactly. I mean, you can't just like leave it at if you're that well renowned within alchemy, you can't just leave it at the Philosopher's Stone and be like, yep, I'm going to make one. I can't profit from it, but I will just, that's me done.
Yeah. Like, so alchemy is what? Transforming any pure metal into gold?
Yeah.
Or is that... No, that's the Philosopher's Stone that can do that.
Yeah. So the thing is, the Philosopher's Stone is an item that can perform alchemy.
Right, okay.
But alchemy itself is then different. I think we talked about this when we were talking about wands and spells.
Yeah.
The fact that transfiguration is turning something via magic from one item into another, whereas alchemy is like more of a potion version of transfiguration. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah.
So alchemy is a branch of magic that is an ancient science concerned with the study of the composition, structure, and magical properties of four base elements, as well as the transmutation of substances. This was thus immediately connected with potion making, chemistry, and transformation magic. So it's very on par with transfiguration, just a potions element to it.
Yeah. I'm going to put this out there. Is there any other alchemists? Because so far I've only ever heard of one. And it's him.
So you've got the very famous Roger Bacon.
Right.
You've got Jan the Baptist.
Not John.
Not John the Baptist. Jan the Baptist.
Right, hold on. Let's just circle back to... Who was it?
Roger Bacon.
Roger Bacon. I think Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone would have been a very different novel had it been... Is it Roger? I keep forgetting his name. Roger Bacon.
Roger Bacon, yeah.
And Jan the Baptist. Can you imagine? On the back of Dumbledore's chocolate frog card, he has noted with his work on alchemy with the renowned alchemist Roger Bacon. Of course, Roger Bacon is the only known maker of the Philosopher's Stone. It just sounds like he's an accountant from, like, Dudley. Roger Bacon. uncle to Richard Beasley.
Could you? This is the alternative writing version. Oh my god.
RB, Richard Beasley, Roger Bacon.
This is it. This is the connection.
This is the equivalent of RAB.
Roger Arthur Bacon.
Roger Arthur Bacon.
That's a perfect stage name.
Roger Arthur Bacon.
Would you rather bacon?
Oh. Oh, I've just got images of this little accountant walking about Dudley hitting rocks and going, yeah, it might be gold. Yeah, it could be gold. Might not be.
Anyway,
Circling back.
So let's go through a bit of the kind of history of Nicholas Flamel, shall we? Just so we kind of give a bit of a background as to the character. So this is going to be prior to Philosopher's Stone.
Okay.
So early life, he meets his wife, Perenelle, where they get married. They then live in Paris in the 14th and 15th century. They ran a shop together.
What did they sell?
Well, it says they ran 2 shops as a scribe. So
W.H. Smith.
yeah, pretty much, or transcription service. The French Catholic couple owned several properties and contributed financially to churches, sometimes by commissioning sculptures. So they did a lot of artistic work around Paris. Later in life, they were then noted for their wealth and philanthropy around the city. Flamel then lived into his 80s. In the 1400s, designed his own tombstone. A bit morbid, I mean, talk about being prepared.
But iconic, I swear to God, that'll be me.
Literally, like, at least you know what's happening when you die.
Exactly. Well, exactly, that's the thing. Like, I have got, albeit at 28, but, like, my funeral will be a grand affair. It'll be stately.
It'll make party tunes.
It'll make Queen Elizabeth II's funeral look like a piss-up. It will be morbid. It will be paraded. It will be, I want Irish widows weeping at my gravesite.
You want black veils, the makeup running.
Women in black, all day, every day. That'll be you, by the way.
Yeah, no, of course, yeah.
Or the Victorian child. You've got that look about you.
It's going to be one of the two. It depends on... I'll probably look like Nicholas Flamel come, like, 80s.
Probably.
The little brittle bone, like... So, yeah, he designed his own tombstone. Iconic. Which was then carved with the images of Jesus, St. Peter and St. Paul.
Very nice.
The tombstone is preserved at the Museum de Cluny.
Wait a minute. Are we talking about the actual Nicholas Flamel?
Well, yes, but it's all. The thing is, they're so interlinked with their life. The only thing that differentiates is the magical properties of the Philosopher's Stone itself.
Right. No, because I was like, I just didn't imagine Nicholas Flamel and Harry Potter being a Catholic.
No?
Well, I mean, I did, but I don't know why. Like, it just never crossed over. Do you know what I mean?
Like wizards having like religion and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like their craft is the religion.
Yeah. I mean, if you think back, I mean, the church did like to, burn witches.
True.
Can you imagine just rocking up to Sunday service? A little incendio on the candle, they'd be like, burn her!
Okay, so where do you want me to leave off then? Do you want me to go then into
No,
Nicholas
carry
Flamel,
on.
like...
No, I was enjoying this.
Oh,
Carry on.
okay. I don't know how, like, hold on, because I need to know how to pronounce this because I'm going to absolutely butcher this. It is Cluny. Okay, fine. So yeah, the tombstone was then preserved at the Muséum de Cluny in Paris. And then records show that he died. So this is then the real life Nicholas Flamel. Died in 1418.
Okay.
So there's a little discrepancy there between, obviously, the death of Nicholas Flamel, obviously having died a lot sooner than the Philosopher's Stone.
Yeah. Very true.
He was buried in Paris at the end of the nave of the former Church of Saint Jacques de la Boucherie. His will, dated 1416, indicates that he was generous, but that he did not have the extraordinary wealth of later alchemical legends.
Oh.
There is no indication that the real Flamel of history was involved in alchemy, pharmacy, or medicine.
So he's literally just somebody that worked in a W.H. Smith.
Yeah, really philanthropical person, commissioned a load of stuff around Paris, but there's no actual link to him having any alchemical connection.
Fair.
So Flamel was a real person and that he may have dabbled in alchemy, but his reputation as an author and immortal adept must be accepted as an invitation of the 17th century.
Gorge.
So yeah. Interesting though that he wasn't actually properly linked to alchemy, and yet he's got this huge reputation as being the known alchemist for the Philosopher's Stone. Maybe he forged some books. He did a Rita Skeeter.
Could you imagine?
A scandal.
A scandalo.
So in terms of how that then goes in with then the Wizarding World and what we actually know about Nicholas Flamel from Harry Potter. So the connections are, so Nicholas was born in the early 14th century. Check.
Yeah.
Nicholas attended Beauxbatons, which, again, where are the male students of Beauxbatons in the films? I mean, really.
What I will say to that, right, I, up until very recently, did think there was a male student of Beauxbatons, right? But it was Roger Davies. You know when they're doing the Macarena? At the third task, I was like, ah, and I was like, oh, that's Roger Davies.
That's Roger Davies. That's the love interest. Yeah, not quite. Close but no cigar.
Close but no cigar.
So he attended Beauxbatons, or Beauxbaton. I had to get that in. I just had to get that in.
That's quite enough for you, thank you.
And it was there he then met his future wife. So actually, he met Perenelle at school.
Cute.
Very cute. It is said that he later funded both the Academy's chateau and grounds, and a fountain on the grounds was named after the couple. Aww.
Oh, no, that is cute.
That is really sweet. And again, why we need to have, like we know we've had Hogwarts Legacy and Hogwarts. We need...
Yeah, uh-huh.
We need more. We need more schools.
We do.
In the 14th century, so we're talking kind of like late 14th century now, Flamel became a noted alchemist of considerable talent. At some point, he created the Philosopher's Stone, an item of immense magical power, which we've talked about in one of our last episodes.
We certainly did.
Which then was able to create the elixir of life, a potion that made the drinker functionally immortal.
It means you'll never die.
I know what it means. But as we found from the Fantastic Beasts series, yes, you get eternal life, but it doesn't necessarily slow down the aging process.
No.
Now, this is my little gripe with it, because is it the fact that Nicholas didn't discover the Philosopher's Stone until he was later in life? Or is he just kind of so decrepit because he should be like 600 years old. I don't.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. What I will say is, though, I absolutely adored him in the movie. I genuinely
He's such a
did.
cute old man.
It was just so funny. See when he tries to run, and then all of a sudden at the end, he's just like, ram your wand into the earth and let's do this. I'm like, all right, simmer down. Okay, here we go.
One last burst of energy.
I know.
He
I will say that I do really like his wand.
Yes, same.
I really do like it. I do wish we knew a little bit more about it because I don't know the wood, the length of the core, but I just know that it's a gorgeous design.
Honestly, the work that they've done for the one series of Fantastic Beasts is amazing.
Some of them are a bit questionable, though, I will say.
They are, but I think one of my favourite ones comes from the Fantastic Beasts series.
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't really know any of his kind of wand wood types or length or anything really from any of the pages. The stone itself, although it's unclear that he used the elixir to greatly extend his life, it is not specified whether he used the stone's power to make himself wealthy. So, as we mentioned in the last video, we talked about the Philosopher's Stone being able to also transmute materials. And I think we speculated already, like making yourself massively wealthy from that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's nothing to say that he had. And I think when we look at then the shop that he owns in Fantastic Beasts, it doesn't suggest that he is massively wealthy.
No. What I will say is, though, that shop, or rather his house, I believe that is still there in Paris to this day.
What, the real life one, or
The real life one. I think it's the oldest stone building in Paris that's still there.
Oh, you've got the Auberge Nicholas Flamel. There's a photo of it back from 2008. Might be worth a look if you're ever in Paris.
Oh wait.
But yeah. Sorry, I suddenly thought you meant the shop from the film. I was like,
no. Is it?
They shot on set.
Could you imagine?
So Nicholas was implied to have been in personal combat, but had become inactive in this field by the 1700s. In 1762, he was spotted at an opera house in Paris. In 1890, Nicholas first came into contact with then the brilliant teenager Albus Dumbledore.
Yeah.
And then we now start going into 1920s, where we then pick up from what we know from Fantastic Beasts.
Yeah. So we know that he joins the affray of battle. Now, love in Fantastic Beasts where he opens that safe and you get to see the Philosopher's Stone. Just that little snippet, a tiny little Easter egg. I know I've said it before, but I'll say it again. Love it.
Yeah, like it had to be done. Like you couldn't have Nicholas Flamel in there and not just drop in the Philosopher's Stone.
Exactly.
Like, I know it's fan service, but 100% needed.
Oh god, yeah, absolutely.
Now, I'm not going to necessarily go too much into then Fantastic Beasts, because actually we know what happens in Fantastic Beasts, although reluctantly enough for most people.
Yeah.
We then skip forward to the 1990s, where we then rejoin Nicholas Flamel and the Philosopher's Stone within the Philosopher's Stone book.
Yeah.
So by the 1990s, Nicholas had moved to then Great Britain with his wife and enjoyed a quiet life in Devon. However, the danger of the stone's existence was brought to light when Voldemort, with the help of Professor Quirrell, was nearly successful in stealing it. Voldemort disembodied after his initial attempt to kill Harry Potter, then backfired, intended to use the elixir to restore himself to physical form. Fortunately, his plan was barely thwarted by the efforts of 3 children: Harry, Ron, and Hermione.
which we covered in our last episode.
Exactly, the last chapter. After consulting with Dumbledore, Flamel then agreed that the stone should be destroyed, though they had enough elixir to set their affairs in order. Now, what affairs? Like, what have you got outstanding? You can't be living like this long in life and, like, just... What have you got left to do?
I mean, possibly say goodbye.
Maybe?
That was my interpretation of it.
Maybe the fact that he had the elixir of life, he never made a will or, like, did anything to pass anything on? Because he wasn't expecting to die? But the thing... So, okay. I don't think we talked about this before. And this is going to be something that I think even our listeners will find it quite an interesting concept. So the elixir of life, it grants you eternal life as long as you keep drinking it.
Yes.
If Flamel was that, not stupid, but
Naive,
yeah, probably naive enough to not make a will or anything, the elixir of life doesn't stop you from being killed. So does it bring you back from the dead? Like, if you get stabbed or you get killed, can it heal you? Or does it only prolong your life, so your physical life?
Possibly. Would it be like the same effect as Phoenix Tears?
That's what I'm kind of wondering. Like what we're talking about. Like, is it purely from a standpoint of it just makes you live longer, but you're still mortal? Or are you immortal and it can heal all wounds? And where do we stand?
I don't know. I think he discovered the stone very late on in life and it preserved him as it was. And it would have the same effect as Phoenix Tears.
Yeah, so cuts and bruises, like, you can just pour a little bit on.
Yeah.
Because you think, like, when he was living around, like, this is the 17th century France. This is, like, 1600s we're talking about. This is not the most hygienic century to be living in.
Oh, God, no, absolutely not.
So he must have had some ways of getting rid of infections and illnesses.
Yeah. The stone!
Exactly. Answer to everything. So when Dumbledore informs Harry of this, the young wizard initially took the news to be terrible. However, Dumbledore assured him that for them, it would be like going to bed after a very, very long day, implying that when Nicholas and his wife passed on, their deaths would be dignified and peaceful. Which I think is what everyone wants at the end of the day.
Well, indeed. And to the well-organised mind, death is but the next great adventure.
Very well said. So yeah, that's kind of... There's obviously some discrepancies from real life, but I think realistically there is very close similarities in terms of there's a lot of misconceptions around Nicholas Flamel when it comes to his life from the public eye. I think the one thing that's quite interesting is the differences they've made between Nicholas Flamel in Harry Potter and Nicholas Flamel from real life. The fact that Harry Potter side is it was implied that he wasn't very wealthy, and yet real life he was very wealthy but not an alchemist.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. Like they're very two sides of the same coin. Okay, so in terms of magical abilities and skills, we know that Nicholas Flamel is a well-known alchemist and obviously good at as a good potioneer. But interestingly, he was also he was very well versed in defense against dark arts, which obviously we see then in Fantastic Beasts during that fight scene between Grindelwald and the group.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually does put a bit of a spin on actually how much knowledge I think Nicholas has gained. Because obviously being 600, you've got to be fairly adept in most things by that point.
Yeah, I mean, you would like to think that he didn't waste those years.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't just all pleasure. It was there must be some retention of knowledge. If you think about like every kind of vampire story there is, like they're the smartest person in the room. They're very charming. They know what people are thinking because they've just been around people for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, the fact that it was Flamel who was able to help fight off the volatile fire that was coming out from what Grindelwald had conjured actually really puts into perspective what power Nicholas actually has.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know whether you picked up on this, and to be honest, I think for me it's more the fact that like Fantastic Beasts has kind of gone in one ear and out the other. But he was then apparently notable in divination as well.
Okay. I don't really think that came across.
No, but I think I think this is more clutching at straws than anything else. So Flamel had some ability in divination as he could gaze into crystal balls and see unforetold events.
Well, I tell a lie, you did see that in Fantastic Beasts, didn't you?
Yeah, but this is the thing, like I don't know what it is. I just can't remember half the stuff that happens in it.
I know.
Like the majority of the story, like I know they go to Flamel's shop and I honestly, you asked me what happens between there and the graveyard. I don't know.
I know. I do need to rewatch them, actually. I will say that.
I wouldn't put immortality as a skill.
No, I'd say that's a given. No, I would say that's a given. I think we've pretty much covered everything on him, haven't we? I mean, there's not much to say about the man who's been alive for 666 years, is there?
Well, this is the thing. Like, you would expect, like, some more information, considering he's such a notable character in the Wizarding world, for there to be nothing in there. And I think this is what really kind of annoyed me about the Fantastic Beasts series, is the fact that you had him be a notable character in one of the films at his prime, and yet it added nothing to his character.
Yeah, that was it.
There was no new information.
Yeah.
He just made an appearance. And I think that's what kind of pissed me off the most about it, is it was more adding him in to get fans intrigued rather than actually using his character for a purpose.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just surprised there's not more on him. And I had a look through all the character vaults and all the page to film books and everything, and there's nothing on him.
Mm-hmm. There's nothing at all.
No.
Which is a shame.
Because he's such an interesting character, but just there's not really anything else on there.
Oh well.
Do you think he had his own chocolate frog?
I would like to think so.
Considering like Dumbledore had a frog card.
Yeah. I mean, I would like to think so, surely.
He must do. Hold on. Now, I think he definitely had one in the games.
Yes, he did, I remember.
Actually, did he? Did he? Oh my god, I don't think he did.
Did he not? I'm sure he did.
I'm like 90% sure he did. Why doesn't Nicholas... Oh my god, there's a whole Reddit page on this.
You're joking.
Why doesn't Nicholas Flamel have a chocolate frog card? Pretty much every notable witch and wizard has a chocolate frog trading card associated with them, and Flamel is certainly notable, having developed the Philosopher's Stone. In fact, he's notable enough to have appeared in another wizard's card. Why then does he not have a card of his own?
Exactly.
My source, by the way, for knowing he doesn't have a card is that Ron doesn't know about him. Ron is a big collector with more than 500 unique cards. He'd know Flamel if he had the card, and seeing as he knows which cards he's missing, as he says it, he still needs Agrippia, it would make sense Ron would know about the cards even if he didn't have them himself.
That's that. Is it the Mandela effect you call that? Where you think something's there, but it's not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or saying it's happened and it hasn't.
The Monopoly Man. Or the Pringles Man. I can never remember which one.
Monopoly Man with the monocle.
Yeah.
So I don't agree with this comment. I mean, so someone's put, I've been rereading the books recently and I don't believe Nicholas Flamel is a wizard. He was a real life medieval alchemist and scholar. I always read it that Rowling was implying that it was that as an alchemist, he actually had discovered the Philosopher's Stone, which was a real pursuit during the time period not linked to magic, but science. The Harry Potter wiki is unclear, but it does list him as a human, not a half-blood or pure-blood, as it does with other wizards, as only a wizard would have a card. This would explain it. It would also explain why he wasn't in any of the books about great historic wizards, but in an alchemy book. Fair point, but we know that he's gone to Beauxbaton.
We know that he's got a wand.
Exactly, and he can do magic. So if he's not a wizard, then how would he be able to do all of those things?
Yeah, he's a wizard.
He's a wizard for sure. Oh, that's a fair point. So another explanation is that he wasn't featured on a card yet. He died between 1992 and 1996, so maybe they featured him after his death for contributions to alchemy.
Oh, a little posthumous card.
Exactly.
Oh, well. At least he got one.
He got some mention at some point.
Good.
But yeah, interesting that he doesn't have a card. I definitely remember seeing him as on a Chocolate Frog card. Or maybe I'm doing like a Mandela effect.
Who knows? Who knows? We'll leave that mystery to ponder.
Mm-hmm. So, I think that kind of wraps everything up, really, for this. The man of the hour, Nicholas Flamel, the notable, noteworthy, and noble Peace Prize winner.
Yeah, the man, the myth, the legend.
So, yeah, I mean, this is kind of everything for Nicholas Flamel, really, and he is our last topic of this season.
Which I cannot believe. Season 2 is coming up.
This is it. This is the end, people, of season 1.
Thank you so much for being on this journey with us, yes. And we were so excited to bring you along on our next foray into the Chamber of Secrets.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. It's been a weird experience, but such an enjoyable one.
It has been. It has been.
So yeah, I hope you guys are excited as we are for season 2, where we are going to be discussing everything from the next book. We have already got some Folio Universitas episodes lined up for next season. We will be going through the Chamber of Secrets.
My favourite.
My least favourite, but we'll get through it.
Oh, no. We will. We certainly will.
So obviously, guys, let us know on Instagram or on YouTube. And what we'll do is we'll probably put a bit of a post in YouTube as well. So let us know if there is any topics that we haven't yet covered that you would like to hear us cover as a Folio Universitas episode.
Yeah.
But for now, what we'll do is we will be taking a 2-week break between seasons. So when this episode goes out, there'll probably be about a week or a week and a half after this episode airs, break between episodes.
Yeah.
So thank you guys so much for listening to season 1. And thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. As always, keep your radios tuned in for our next season. If you haven't already, make sure to favourite our podcast and to click the subscription link down below to subscribe and see our lovely faces every week. And if you haven't, in these next 2 weeks, if you haven't already heard a few of our podcasts, click the links beside me and you will then see a few of our other suggested videos to catch up on. So yeah, use this time wisely, catch up on episodes and you'll be back ready. Binge watch, binge listen, whatever it takes.
Yeah, so with that, for the final time of season 1, I will say to you, Cherry Bubbles.
Kindest regards.
Bye-bye.